Do you see yourself as a Willy Wonka type?
Where I relate to Willy Wonka is being different. I don't want to be different in a way to try to shock people. I just don't want to be a follower. And Willy Wonka was willing to close the chocolate factory up, even in order to preserve the integrity of originality. And so, like, probably wasn't practical to close the chocolate factory. You can't run a business that way. You have to always pull yourself back and be fiscally responsible. That's tough for me because I just want to be an artist most of the time. That's my comfort zone. I mean, Willy Wonka. Yeah, I probably am Willy Wonka. Going with the Wind came out in 1939, but somebody told me that there's a car in that photo that's a 41, which led me to believe that, oh, that was the re-release. And there's a banner that says nothing cut but the price. So what does that mean, nothing cut but the price? Well, as you know, and Going with the Wind, like, it was one of the first mainstream movies that had a swear word. And there was uncensored versions where they did not cut that from the movie. So I guess people would come to wait for that moment. It's like, that photo was taken by Elmer Mize when he was 16 years old, and Elmer later became the Maryville town historian.
Park Theater. We had Park, Palace, and Capitol at one time.
What we do know is that at one time there were 3 theaters open in downtown Maryville at the same time. There was the Capitol, and then there was the Park across the street, which is now the Blue Tick. And then there was the Palace Theater. You and I haven't really talked about it, but once I bought the building, in my mind, this was going to be my art studio. And really, to know me, you have to know my paintings. So I was known for my landscapes. But that's not all that I did. It's just mostly what I was trying to sell prints of, like, and pay the bills. And my heart was in the landscapes, but my more eccentric things are always harder to sell. And so when I bought the theater, I was going to put my art gallery in here. I had actually set up my studio on the stage. So for a while, I was almost, it looked like a set in a play, and I was essentially living in the play set. So the thing about it is like, everything I do unorthodox, and it's definitely intentional. Once I decided I was going to open up this theater, I was going to renovate it again, and it was a big decision because if you're going to go sink money into no theater, you have to spend over half of the investment in things that nobody else is going to need. I mean, I was sensible enough to realize that, so I knew that whatever investment I was doing wasn't going to be fiscally smart. It was purely an artistic endeavor. So I decided I'm doing it. I have to be doing something creative or I'm miserable. That's why I'm always doing things that don't make sense, like the ice cream parlor. We were calling it the coffee shop at the time because we were selling more coffee than ice cream. It was mostly just there. I was trying to come up with a way to just like afford to keep somebody here, to keep the door open so that I could show my artwork. But it never was successful. And it kind of became a thorn in my side because you can't do anything halfway. It's kind of like a gymnast trying to do a flip. If you're going to do it, you commit, otherwise you'll break your neck. So I decided, like, okay, look, I'm either going, don't do the coffee shop, or we need to do something different that people don't typically see. So I decided that basically I'm going to make a spectacle, an organized, chaotic mess, floor to ceiling. And so I started hanging things in there a little bit at a time. And I knew from the beginning where I was going. Nobody else did. The thing about it is like, I intentionally am trying to make every single square inch where you look, you see something. You have to look. Every time you go back, you'll find something. You constantly see people with their neck craned up. And I always think, like, I feel bad, like they're probably like gonna have a crick in their neck. They'll be in there for half an hour. And I'm not making fun. I have nothing but like all the desire in the world to make people smile. I get joy out of watching people's face light up, and that's why I do it.
But it's not just stuff that you buy and put up there. You're making stuff.
Right, I'm making stuff too. So like sometimes it's an easy putt, and sometimes you have to figure out how am I going to be able to like recreate that, because it hasn't been done yet. So in truth, it was part of my compulsive personality. It is an art project. It's a never-ending art project.
Well, let me back up just a second.
All right.
So you know that, okay, you're going to renovate this place.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't look like how are you going to turn a profit, right?
Right, I knew that.
Why?
Maybe I should have thought more carefully about that. I would like to be able to tell you, like, I did it to store it to its exact glory for the community. But the truth of it is that I was getting bored with two-dimensional paintings, and the art became the theater, and the theater became the painting. In my mind, I was going to be doing ticketed events and movies. I'd gone to a convention in Kansas City for the League of Historic Theaters, and I was the only one there that was actually trying to make a profit from a theater. Everybody else there was a nonprofit who they spent all of their efforts trying to go ask for money. And a gentleman told me, he goes, the way to go are weddings. And that's how I got involved in weddings. And then like an advantage on the weddings was I never knew anything about the way everybody else does it. And I approach everything that way. I'm like, don't tell me, I almost want to see what I come up with on my own, because I'm untainted. When we started doing weddings, people needed a place to get dressed. They didn't think that through. They kept either using the side stage, or they wanted to know, hey, can we go downstairs? Well, downstairs used to be just the green room, and it was nasty. But I tried to make it a little bit nicer, We called that the Hollywood Lounge, and everybody kept calling it the man cave. I didn't call it that. People just kept calling it that. So if people are going to organically call something that, like, who am I to keep fighting it? It's working, right? So that's why people call it the man cave. But they didn't know that the Emerald Room was going on behind it. We had people renting the basement of the theater. However, what they didn't know is behind what the people were calling the speakeasy or man cave, I was actually building a real one.
Oh, hey, you. Looks like someone tipped you off about a little secret.
I don't know how in the world I thought I was actually going to create this little secret place, and then nobody was ever going to find out about it. To me, it was kind of like my inner domain. Like, I'm gonna lock this off. I already gave up my art studio, so I kind of like ended up down in the basement with my last spot, I always had an interest in antiques, like handmade coin op or a roulette table, casino equipment, a couch, Victorian, a piano, those kind of things, like I love. Anyway, it got to be so finished and cool that I wasn't going to be able to hide it. It was just that simple. Like, everybody kept asking about it. And so finally I relented. I'm like, okay, we'll start letting people see it at least, or whatever. And this is always a struggle with me, because I know it doesn't make sense, because you've asked me why. From a fiscal standpoint, you go put all this energy in investment, something like that, and then you don't try to use it for a fiscal profit. Like, why would you do that for? Or at least let other people enjoy it. And it occurred to me that people are starving for interaction. So I decided, you know what? Maybe that's what I need to do. I need to create a story and then make something immersive so that you feel like you're truly stepping back in time. So it was really important to me that every single detail in that demo room was authentic. I was compulsive about it. I mean, I love creating things. I just do. I just love creating things. And there just wouldn't be the same fulfillment if you created something and hung it up and nobody saw it. I mean, the best thing that can happen is when they're pointing at it and they're laughing and they're smiling. I mean, there's no greater reward than that. And so, you know what? I have to make something else. There's always another door. You asked me, do I feel like I'm Willy Wonka? The thing about Willy Wonka is like, he was fantastical, but I like hiding. I'm more the man behind the curtain.
Oz.
Yes. I have content behind the curtain, doing the little wheel, making the fire blow out and creating that reaction. I live for that. I do. And when I reflect on it, I do truly believe like I have a responsibility to keep it open. There's days where I've been tired. I want to move on to something else because, in a business, like I was telling you, there's things that when I want to be creative, we have to do things mundane or pattern and do it right. And that can wear on me. And I know it's just a building, but it's more than just a building, because the people who grew up here, like a lot of times, this is a place where they might have met somebody they loved for the first time, or they could have gotten in a fight with somebody. It's not mine because there's so many memories here. I'm just like, I'm going to own part of it. I'm passing through. You put so much time and energy conceiving something, and then you get to finally manifest, and it's a physical thing. And you're not sure if it's even that great, but then once people come in and their eyes light up, and then they're sharing it, and they're like floored. I want them to always go away with, I've never seen anything like that before. That's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. I don't know. I think I'm just trying to get them to say, wow. I guess that's what I'm going after.